while 22 million Americans have filed for unemployment thanks to the pandemic, it's likely that most of them have lost their health care. And we've heard stories about the Trump administration spending tens of billions of dollars on funding health care directly to hospitals in order to ensure that COVID-19 treatments, in some cases, are taken care of. What is Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party proposing as a solution? Well, not so good, pretty disastrous. And at the same time, you end up seeing videos like what we're about to show you, where Nancy Pelosi shows off the insane wealthy situation she's dealing with while most people are suffering. This was an actual video, made its rounds online. Let's take a quick look.
Speaker Pelosi, what have you found? What are you going to share with us from your home?
Chocolate.
Really?
Chocolate candy.
Oh, wow.
And this is something you can get through the mail.
Okay.
Never run out. Can I show you?
Me. Yeah, absolutely. This is the episode of Cribs I never knew I needed. Oh, my. Wow.
Other people in our family go for some other flavors, but chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here.
She's so lovable because she likes chocolate and ice cream. Okay, look, I want to preface this by saying I don't hate on people simply because they have means, right? You live a nice life. You worked hard for it. You have 2 Sub-Zero refrigerators where each one costs $12,000. Do you, boo? I'm not hating. However, if you are a lawmaker, if you are part of Democratic leadership at a time when tens of millions of Americans, at some point even more Americans, are going to absolutely suffer, not going to have the health insurance they need, not going to have the means necessary to pay their bills, put a roof over their heads, and stay safe. Putting out videos like that is just so unbelievably tone deaf. I can't even believe it. And she wears the sweater.
Well, Anna, she's about to go yachting, so of course you need the sweater.
It's amazing.
But Anna, to be fair to Nancy Pelosi here, it depends on which culture you're in. If you're above 45 years old and you're in the TV culture, they like to have their leaders look fancy and speak down to them, and they need to look good. If they don't, they say, "Oh, I don't know, is that a respectable and credible leader? Maybe not." If you're in the internet culture under the age of 45, you look at that and go, okay, you're going to rub it in now? I mean, that looks like the richest house I've ever seen in my life. And you're going to go on TV and tell us about what a great time you're having with, I don't know if that's the basement where she also buried Single Payer. I don't know if the poster's right around the corner. But, you live this kind of lifestyle and you're going to rub it in our face. So it's totally different. For young people, that's our reaction. I say, I'm above 45. But for older people, they like that. They're like, ooh, that is a respected leader about to go yachting in the middle of this catastrophe. And look, she's so rich. I respect her more now.
So this week, we shared a story with you guys from the American Prospect, David Dayen doing the reporting, showing that the measly $1,200 one-time stimulus check that Americans are getting this week can be immediately garnished by creditors and the banks if you have, let's say, overdraft fees or any type of debt that you owe to that bank. The congressional leadership did not write any protections in the stimulus legislation protecting that money. And then the Treasury Department also refused to do anything to protect that money. So all these Americans who have lost their jobs, they've lost their health care, they can't get through their state's unemployment system in order to sign up for unemployment insurance. They're not getting any income coming in. They're reliant on that stimulus check. In many cases, if you have debt, creditors can garnish that check because Congress wrote the legislation in such a way that it does not offer protections for you and that money. Just one other thing to mention. And then when it comes to the healthcare question, what are Democrats proposing? This story is unbelievable, but really not so much when you consider the private healthcare industry and the lobbying that they've been doing behind the scenes. So Donald Shaw over at Sludge reports that Democratic leadership in Congress have embraced a measure in the next coronavirus package to expand subsidies for COBRA health insurance program, allowing people who lose their jobs to keep the same insurance plan that their employer had made available to them. Oh, that's interesting. COBRA's really, really expensive. So what are they offering here? Well, under the plan, which was viewed by Vox, the federal government would pay the most or the full cost of the premiums to private health insurance companies to keep laid off people on their plans. It can be prohibitively expensive because laid off people are on the hook for part of the insurance premium as well as their employer's part. On average, $7,200 for an individual and more than $20,000 for a family. So there's a catch. They don't actually cover the full premium. There are parts of the premium, there is a part of the premium and other parts of the healthcare coverage that the consumer is still responsible for. So it offers a little bit of relief, but it's really not much when you consider how expensive COBRA really is. And it's not much help when you consider that these Americans are not getting any income coming in right now. This is a disaster.
So this one is actually worse than it appears. So you think, well, if you're laid off and COBRA is really expensive and this legislation is going to pick up the premium for you, well, that sounds pretty good, right? Okay, so now let's talk about the catches and what the other options are. Number one, as Anna was alluding to, yeah, even if they cover the whole premium, they don't cover the deductible. It's the same plan you used to be on with your employer. So some folks have deductibles up to $5,000. That's why they're not going to go get tested or treated, or they're going to be reluctant to do those things because they don't want to hit the deductible. And so it doesn't really take care of the problem. Now, what's the alternative? The alternative is you could just say, hey, if they're laid off, they can go on Medicaid, and that way it'll be covered. But that would fix it much more holistically, and it would actually be cheaper because you cut out the middleman of the insurance companies. But they're choosing not to do that. Now, Bernie Sanders and Pramila Jayapal have introduced legislation that would be even better. Anyone, not just people who are laid off, anyone who gets sick and needs treatment for this disease during the coronavirus epidemic would get free treatment under Medicare. Now, there's a lot of logic to that. Number one, everybody gets peace of mind. Number two, again, you cut out the middleman and it's cheaper. And number three, this is a virus. So it's like a fire in a sense. That's why we've talked a lot on the show about how we used to have private fire insurance, but it makes no sense because if your neighbor doesn't have insurance and his house on fire, the fire is going to spread to your house anyway. In a virus, same thing. You have a contagious situation. Even if you don't cover the person who doesn't have insurance, that could then spread to you who does have insurance. So that is a perfect situation where the government can step in and should step in to control the virus. And Medicare is a perfect way to do it. So obviously, it has 0% chance of passing. Why?
0% chance. Yeah, well, I'll give you the numbers on why. You're going to mention the lobbyists, so go ahead.
No, it's the health insurance companies. And this is very, very important because this is the top place where the mainstream media will gaslight you. Republicans bad, but Democrats, don't criticize Democratic leadership. They're looking out for it. They're the same as progressives. I don't know why you guys are complaining. No, they're not. They're corrupt. They take bribes from insurance companies. That is why they're doing the less efficient plan that funnels all the money to premiums that goes where? Not to you, but to insurance companies who are their donors. Now, Anna, give them the numbers.
So first, some context. So less than a week before the Democrats floated their plan to expand COBRA, the presidents and CEOs of Blue Cross Blue Shield and America's Health Insurance Plans, which is the health insurance lobbying group, sent a list of policy proposals to Congress, including a recommendation that it provide full federal subsidization of COBRA premiums. Okay, again, let's be specific. It'll cover the COBRA premiums, not the deductibles and other health related costs that come along with it. And by the way, when it comes to how much the industry has spent, just know that so far in the 2019-2020 cycle, lobbyists who represent the health insurance industry have raised more than $736,000 for Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, DCCC. So when you're about to hit $1 million in campaign contributions to, this political apparatus that benefits the Democratic Party. Do you think the Democratic Party has any interest in expanding government-controlled health insurance or health care? Of course not. Because big business, even in the middle of a pandemic, it's got to make its money. Even if, I mean, no one can afford it. That's the thing that blows my mind. Even with the premiums taken care of, people can't afford those deductibles if they have no money coming in. This is not a solution. This is another mandated handout. Well, it's not mandated, but it's another handout to private industry.
So that's just the DCCC. That doesn't include the insurance money and the drug company money. That's a whole different batch that gets directed to the individual congresspeople, to the DNC, RNC, and the Senate and congressional campaigns of both parties. So they direct millions of dollars into these corrupt politicians' hands. And when it comes to the DCCC money, a lot of the Democrats that take money from the DCCC say, oh, I don't take any corporate money. Well, the DCCC does and then gives it to me. That's called money laundering, okay? And of course, now it's all been legalized. Bribery's been legalized. Money laundering's been legalized. As long as it's going to politicians, of course they're going to make it legal. And so these corporate Democrats are not your friends. The final part of this is just think about this, okay? So under this plan, this COBRA plan that the Democratic leadership's in favor of, if you get sick and have coronavirus, you might actually not be covered. So you might have a deductible, and so you might have to pay the whole thing. Or you're not unemployed and you have to pay the whole thing for treatment, especially if you have a deductible. But the money does go somewhere. It goes to premiums. But wait a minute, premiums aren't if you're sick. The premiums are just payments to insurance companies. So in essence, this is not saving you or your life. This is a giant bailout for insurance companies. And that's how this game is played.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.